Sirens wailed like banshees through the rain-slicked streets of Portland, Oregon, cutting through the gray afternoon haze as Alex Harper gripped the steering wheel of the ambulance, his knuckles white against the black leather. The call had come in frantic. School bus crash on the outskirts of the city, multiple injuries, kids screaming, and Alex's heart hammered in sync with the flashing lights, every second a razor edge between life and death. He was the first on scene, boots splashing into puddles as he vaulted from the rig, med bag slung over his shoulder, only to skid to a halt beside a crumpled boy pinned under twisted metal, blood streaking his pale face. And in a whisper that sliced through the chaos like a knife, the kid locked eyes with him and gasped, "Dad." Alex. The word "Dad" hung in the air, heavier than the downpour that soaked Alex's uniform to the bone, turning the world into a blurred watercolor of red lights and shattered glass. 16 years evaporated in that instant. 16 years of burying secrets under layers of routine shifts and forced smiles at pride parades, of telling himself the past was a closed book he'd never reopen. The boy, no, the young man now, with the same sharp jawline and stormy blue eyes that stared back from Alex's old high school photos, was Ethan, his son, the one he'd given up at birth in a haze of teenage terror and small-town shame. Back when being gay in rural Oregon meant whispers and slammed doors, not the quiet acceptance he'd clawed his way toward in the city. Alex's hands trembled as he dropped to his knees, ignoring the shouts of arriving firefighters and the acrid bite of spilled diesel. "Ethan? Oh God, kid. Hold on, I've got you." His voice cracked, a paramedic's steady calm fracturing like thin ice, as he assessed the damage. Compound fracture in the left leg, deep laceration on the forehead, possible internal bleeding from the way the boy's breaths came shallow and ragged. But none of the protocols mattered now. This wasn't some anonymous patient on a gurney. This was the piece of himself he'd surrendered, the living echo of a night with his high school girlfriend, a desperate bid for normalcy that had backfired spectacularly when she confessed she couldn't keep the baby alone, and Alex, barely 18 and already grappling with his hidden truth, had signed the papers with shaking hands, convincing himself it was mercy, not cowardice. "Stay with me. Ethan, talk to me," Alex urged, his gloved fingers probing gently for a pulse, strong but thready, while he radioed for backup with the other hand. The boy's eyelids fluttered, recognition flickering amid the pain. "You're the one from the letters," Mom said. "You were a hero." A hero. The word twisted in Alex's gut like barbed wire. The letters, sporadic postcards and birthday cards he'd sent through the adoption agency, and signed it first, then with his name once he thought it safe, never expecting they'd reach this far, never imagining they'd lead here, to this mangled wreckage on the edge of I-5, where a bus full of Lincoln High students had hydroplaned into a guardrail during a field trip to the coast. As the extraction team arrived, hydraulic jaws whining to life, Alex rode with Ethan in the chopper that lifted off minutes later, the rotor blades chopping the rain into mist. He monitored vitals, administered morphine, but his mind raced ahead to the hospital, Providence Portland Medical Center, where he'd pulled extra shifts to afford his tiny apartment overlooking the Willamette. What would he say? How could he explain to the doctors, to the social workers who would swarm like locusts, that he was the biological father, estranged and unqualified, a gay man who'd built a life on the fringes of family norms? Ethan's hand twitched in his, fingers curling weakly around Alex's wrist, and in that touch, something unbreakable stirred, a tether Alex had long pretended didn't exist. By the time they wheeled into the ER, chaos reigned. Nurses barking orders, monitors beeping in discordant symphony, the metallic tang of blood mingling with antiseptic. Dr. Lena Vasquez, a no-nonsense Latina surgeon with a reputation for saving the unsavable, took one look at Ethan's chart and Alex's haunted expression and snapped. "You the responding MT? Talk to me. Any allergies, history?" Alex rattled off the basics, his voice mechanical, but when she asked for next of kin, he faltered. "I'm his father." The words tasted like ash, drawing stares from the staff, curious, pitying, judgmental. In a city like Portland, progressive on paper, the undercurrents of bias still ran deep, especially in high-stakes moments like this. Lena's dark eyes narrowed, Not an accusation, but assessment. Biological? You look like you just saw a ghost. She didn't press as she scrubbed in for surgery, but her glance lingered, a silent acknowledgement that this was more than a routine trauma. Alex paced the waiting room, phone clutched like a lifeline, dialing the number from Ethan's wallet. A Seattle area code, his adoptive mother's. Mrs. Riley? This is Alex Harper. I'm Ethan's biological father. There's been an accident. Silence stretched, then a sharp intake of breath. You? After all this time? God, Ethan talked about you last week. Said he wanted to find you. The call ended with promises of arrival by morning, but Alex felt no relief, only the gnawing void of years unspoken. Hours blurred into a vigil, coffee gone cold in styrofoam, fluorescent lights buzzing like angry hornets. When Lena emerged, scrub splattered, she found him slumped in a plastic chair. He's stable, set the leg, stitched the head wound, no spinal involvement. But he's asking for you. Alex followed her down the hall, pulse thundering anew. Ethan lay propped in the ICU bed, tubes snaking from arms to machines, his face ghostly under the harsh lights, but alive, impossibly so. Hey, the boy murmured, voice raw from intubation. You really came. I did, Alex said, sinking into the chair beside him, the weight of it all crashing down. Why didn't you tell me? How did you even know I'd be there? Ethan's lips quirked in a pained smile. Mom gave me your file last year. Said it was time. I saw your name on the news once. Local hero, gay pride run. Tracked your station. Was going to show up at your door after graduation. The confession unraveled Alex, threads of guilt and what-ifs spilling out. But beneath it, a spark ignited. Possibility, fragile as new skin over a wound. As dawn crept through the blinds, casting golden slivers across the linoleum, Alex realized this crash wasn't just fate's cruel joke. It was a collision course he'd been barreling toward since that rainy night in '09. Ethan drifted off under the sedation, but Alex stayed, hand on his son's, whispering apologies to the sleeping form. Outside, Portland stirred to life, rain easing to a drizzle, but inside, the storm was just beginning. The reckonings with family, with self, with the love he'd denied them both. The next morning brought a fragile truce, sunlight filtering through the hospital blinds like hesitant fingers testing the waters of forgiveness. Alex hadn't slept, his body a coiled spring of adrenaline crash and emotional whiplash, but he forced himself to brew fresh coffee from the nurse's station, black and bitter as his regrets. Ethan stirred as he re-entered the room, blinking against the light, his bandaged leg elevated like a battle standard. You look like crap, the kid observed, voice still hoarse but laced with that teenage edge, equal parts vulnerability and bravado, that made Alex's chest ache with recognition. Gee, thanks. Runs in the family, I guess. Alex handed over a sippy cup of water, the plastic contraption absurd on a 16-year-old, but necessary with the four-drip. They sat in companionable silence at first, the beeps of monitors a metronome to their awkward reunion. Then Ethan broke it, Mom's flying in. Said she'd be here by noon. You cool with that? Cool. As if anything about this was cool. Alex nodded, throat tight. Yeah, I owe her everything. And an apology. He'd met Sarah Riley only once, at the agency, her eyes wide with hope and his own downcast in shame. She'd built the life he couldn't, raising Ethan in a cozy suburb north of Seattle with her husband, Mark, a quiet engineer who coached Little League and grilled burgers on Sundays. The door swung open before Alex could respond, admitting a whirlwind of energy. Nurse Jamal Washington, a broad-shouldered black man in his 40s with a rainbow pin on his scrubs and a grin that could disarm a grizzly. Morning, sunshine. Time for vitals. And who's this handsome stranger? Jamal's eyes twinkled as he checked Ethan's chart, his presence a balm in the sterile room. Alex had worked with him on night shifts, swapping stories over vending machine snacks about coming out in conservative families. Jamal in the Bible Belt, Alex in Oregon's logging towns. Jamal, this is Ethan. My son. The words came easier this time, though they still landed like stones in still water. Jamal paused, stethoscope midair, then boomed a laugh that echoed off the tiles. Well, damn. Family reunion on my shift? Universe has jokes. He winked at Ethan. Your dad's one of the good ones, kid. Saved my ass last Fourth, Fireworks gone wrong. Ethan managed a weak chuckle, color returning to his cheeks, and for a moment, the room felt less like a cage and more like a bridge. But bridges could buckle, and Alex knew the weight pressing down. The school counselor who'd called earlier, voice clipped, inquiring about guardianship complications, with a subtext of suspicion that made Alex's jaw clench. Lincoln High was progressive by Portland standards, but accidents like this dredged up old prejudices, whispers about broken homes and alternative lifestyles that could poison recovery as surely as infection. By midday, Sarah arrived, a petite woman in her mid-30s with Ethan's eyes and a hug that enveloped Alex like absolution. "You came," she said simply, pulling back to study him. Taller now, lean from years of hauling gear, silver threading his temples prematurely. Mark hung back, hand extended in a firm shake that held no grudge, just quiet solidarity. "He's tough, like you," Mark said, nodding toward the bed. They talked in low tones while Ethan dozed, about the crash, a slick road, and a distracted driver, about Ethan's track team dreams derailed by pins and therapy. But the undercurrent was the unsaid. Why now? Why like this? That afternoon, as visiting hours waned, Alex stepped out for air, the hospital courtyard a pocket of green amid concrete sprawl. He lit a cigarette, bad habit from rookie days, one he quit twice a year, and exhaled smoke into the drizzle. Footsteps approached, and there was Lena Vasquez, shedding her white coat like a second skin, revealing jeans and a faded Radiohead tee. "Mind if I join the pity party?" She bummed a smoke, lighting up with practiced ease, her sharp features softening in the gray light. They'd crossed paths before, flirtatious banter over trauma bays, but this felt different, charged. "Not pity," Alex corrected, staring at the koi pond where orange fish darted like forgotten wishes. "Just inventory." He spilled it then, the edited version, young love, unwanted pregnancy, the choice that haunted him. Lena listened without interruption, her surgeon's precision dissecting the pain without judgment. "You're not the villain in your own story, Alex. But staying silent? That's the real wound." Her hand brushed his arm, a spark in the damp air, and he wondered if this collision had cracked open more than one life. Back inside, Ethan was more alert, propped up with pillows, scrolling his phone with one hand. "Dad, Alex, check this." He tilted the screen. A group chat with his track buddies, messages flooding in. "Get well, man." Bus was cursed, LOL. But one stood out, from a kid named Riley. "Heard your bio dad showed. That's huge. Proud of you." Ethan's cheeks flushed. "Riley's my best friend. Out since freshman year. Helped me figure stuff out." The implication hung. Ethan, grappling with his own identity, letters from a gay father a lifeline in the dark. Alex's heart swelled, pride mingling with sorrow. "He's lucky to have you. And hey, call me Dad if it fits." As evening fell, the family gathered, Sarah sharing stories of Ethan's childhood antics, Mark cracking dad jokes that drew genuine laughs. But tension simmered beneath. A call from the school principal, voice oily with concern, probing about family dynamics post-accident, the subtext clear in a town where queer visibility still sparked backlash. Alex fielded it with clipped professionalism, but inside, fury brewed, the same old fight against erasure. Lena popped in on rounds, her presence a quiet anchor, and as she adjusted Ethan's drip, their eyes met over the bed, a promise of coffee, of conversations that might mend more than bones. Night deepened, the hospital humming with subdued urgency. Alex crashed in the recliner. Ethan snores a lullaby he'd never known he craved. Dreams came fragmented, rain-swept roads, a baby's cry echoing in empty rooms, hands reaching through fog. He woke to Ethan's whisper, "Don't leave again." The plea anchored him, a vow forming in the shadows. This wasn't an end. It was the wreckage from which they'd rebuild, stronger, scarred, but whole. Weeks blurred into a rhythm of rehab and revelation, Portland's relentless rain mirroring the steady drip of truths unearthed. Ethan transferred to an outpatient facility closer to Alex's apartment, a compromise with Sarah that kept the family orbiting without fracturing. Alex's shifts adjusted, days off bartered for nights on call, allowing him to ferry Ethan to physical therapy, where the boy gritted through exercises on parallel bars, sweat beading on his brow like determination made liquid. One more rep, champ, Alex coached, spotting from behind. His own muscles' memory of track meets long faded. These moments built bridges, tentative at first, then sturdy. Shared playlists of indie rock blasting from the car stereo. Debates over the best food carts snaking through Alberta Arts District. But harmony was a fragile illusion, cracked by the first real storm. It came on a crisp October afternoon, Ethan hobbling on crutches toward the therapy room when a cluster of familiar faces turned. Classmates from Lincoln High, here for their own sessions post-crash. Laughter died as eyes landed on Alex, arm looped supportively around his son's waist. Whispers rippled. That's the guy from the news, the gay EMT. Wait, he's Ethan's dad. One girl, ponytail swinging, blurted, "Dude, is he like your stepdad or something?" The innocence masked the edge, but Ethan stiffened, crutches clacking unevenly. Biological, actually. Problem. Alex felt the shift, the air thickening with unspoken judgment. The same cocktail of curiosity and discomfort he'd navigated since coming out at 22, post-army discharge, when buddies who'd shared foxholes suddenly shared sideways glances. He squeezed Ethan's shoulder. "Easy, kid. Let's roll." But the seed was planted, blooming overnight into social media shrapnel. Anonymous posts on the school's Reddit thread, bio dad reveal. Ethan's got a rainbow connection? Explains the vibes. Emojis hid the barbs, but they stung, dredging up Ethan's own closet struggles. Nights scrolling Grindr incognito, heart pounding at every notification, terrified of the fallout in a town that cheered at pride but clutched pearls at personal truths. That evening, over takeout Ty and Alex's cramped living room, walls lined with framed photos of pride marches and unit citations, Ethan confronted it head-on. "They think it's weird. Me, you. Us." He poked at pad CEW. Appetite fled. Alex set down his fork, the weight of mentorship settling. "Weird's just code for scared. I get it. First time I brought a guy home to my folks, Dad asked if it was a phase or a phase-out." He recounted the blowout, slammed doors, Bible verses hurled like grenades, the enlistment papers signed in rebellion. "Hurt like hell, but it freed me. You're braver than I was at your age." Ethan's eyes, so like his own in their quiet storm, softened. "Mom says you wrote letters. Kept tabs without stalking." A pause, heavy with the unsaid. "Why give me up?" The question landed like a gut punch, fair and ferocious. Alex leaned forward, elbows on knees, voice steady as a lifeline. "I was a kid, Ethan, scared shitless. Thought I was doing right by you, giving you stability I couldn't. But yeah, regrets my shadow. Seeing you now? Best crash of my life." Humor lightened the load, drawing a snort from Ethan, but tears tracked silent paths down the boy's cheeks. They hugged then, awkward over crutches, the embrace raw and real, a mending of fractures deeper than bone. Enter Riley, Ethan's anchor in the tempest. He arrived the next day unannounced, backpack slung over one shoulder, a lanky 17-year-old with tousled blonde hair and a skateboard tucked under arm, his presence announcing itself with the faint scent of vanilla vape and rebellion. "Sup, Mr. H? Brought reinforcements." He dumped a bag of comics on the coffee table, X-Men runs, mutants owning their otherness, and plopped beside Ethan, their easy camaraderie a bomb. Riley was out and proud, by flag patch on his jacket, the kind of kid who'd organized the school's first GSA bake sale despite admin foot-dragging. But beneath the bravado lurked his own scars. Parents divorced over his coming out, mom supportive, dad vanished into radio silence. As they geeked out over panels, Wolverine's rage mirroring their own inner beasts, Alex watched, a swell of gratitude for this chosen family. Riley caught his eye, mouthing he's good, and Alex nodded, the silent pact of allies forged in fire. But dinner turned the tide. Lena joined, invited via text after a shift overlap, her laugh filling the space as she bantered with Riley over superhero tropes. "Claws are overrated. Give me a scalpel any day." Ethan observed them, a sly grin creeping. "You two got history?" The room stilled, air crackling. Alex flushed and used to the spotlight, but Lena's foot nudged his under the table, bold and unapologetic. "History's what we make, kid." That night, after Riley crashed on the couch and Ethan retreated to the guest room, now stocked with his duffel of clothes. Alex and Lena walked the block to a corner bar, neon signs buzzing in the chill. Over IPAs, she peeled back layers. Her own journey, out since med school, a string of relationships derailed by residency demands. You're not just a hot paramedic, Harper. You've got depth, scars that shine. Their kiss was inevitable, soft under street lamps, tasting of hops and hope. But as they pulled apart, Alex's phone buzzed. Sarah, voice edged with panic. The school's calling a meeting. Rumors about Ethan, bullying, they say. Tied to everything. The meeting loomed like a thunderhead, set for the following week at Lincoln High's conference room. Principal's office reeking of lemon polish and false neutrality. Alex prepped with Ethan, role-playing responses, but doubt not. Was this protection or persecution? Riley tagged along virtually, firing pep talks via FaceTime. And Lena? She cleared her schedule, a surgeon's blade ready to cut through bullshit. As the rain pattered against windows, Alex realized the crash had unleashed not just survival, but a reckoning, for acceptance, for love in all its jagged forms. The conference room at Lincoln High felt like a coliseum, walls papered in motivational posters. Reach for the stars. That rang hollow under the fluorescent glare. Principal Hargrove, a wiry man in his 50s with a comb-over and a tie too tight for comfort, steepled his fingers across the oak table, flanked by the counselor, Ms. Patel, whose notes scribbled furiously. Ethan sat rigid beside Alex, crutches propped like sentinels, Riley a solid presence on his other side, while Sarah and Mark video-called from Seattle, their faces pixelated but fierce. Lena hovered at the door, observer status her shield, her white coat a talisman against the Inquisition. Thank you for coming, Hargrove began, voice oily as used car sales. This incident, tragic, yes, but we've concerns about Ethan's reintegration. Reports of disruptions in the team dynamic. He slid a folder across, printouts of those Reddit threads, highlighted barbs glaring. Alex's blood boiled, but he held steady, channeling every de-escalation training. Disruptions? You mean kids being kids, or adults failing them? Ms. Patel interjected, tone measured. Bullying allegations, Mr. Harper. Tied to family revelations. Ethan's mentioned struggles with identity. We want to support. Ethan's hand clenched under the table, knuckles white. Support? Like ignoring the slurs in the locker room? Or how Coach glares every time Riley and I talk? The room iced over, Hargrove's smile faltering. Riley jumped in, voice steady. It's not Ethan, it's the whispers. Freak family since the crash. He almost got jumped last spring, pre-accident. The words detonated, pulling gasps from the adults. Sarah's voice crackled through the speaker. We've filed complaints before, nothing changes. Mark added, gruff. Time for real action, or we pull him. Hargrove backpedaled, promises of sensitivity training and peer mediation spilling out like weak tea. But Alex saw the cracks, the institutional inertia that protected the status quo, where queer kids were issues to manage, not lives to nurture. As they filed out, Lena pulled him aside in the hall, her touch grounding. You were a lion in there. Ethan's got your fire. Her pride warmed him, but the victory felt pyrrhic. Walking Ethan to the car, the boy's shoulders slumped. They don't get it, Dad. It's like, I'm the crash all over again. Homebound, the drive wound through Selwood's tree-lined streets, leaves turning crimson under overcast skies. Riley blasted Halsey to lift spirits. Bad at Love, an anthem of messy truths, and Ethan loosened, sharing snippets of school life. The GSA Club's underground zine, secret meetings in the art room, where kids swapped stories of rejection and resilience. Riley started it, said hidings like drowning slow. Alex glanced in the rear view, catching Riley's blush, the unspoken depth between the boys a mirror to his own youth. Crushes stolen in shadows, hearts guarded like state secrets. Dinner that night was a council of war. Takeout pizza piled high with toppings, the living room a warren of blankets and laptops. Sarah and Mark stayed on, strategizing enrollment at a more inclusive school, but Ethan pushed back. I want to fight for this one. Show them we belong. Pride swelled in Alex, tempered by fear. The same fear that had silenced him at Ethan's age, when a kiss behind the bleachers earned bruises and exile. Then we fight smart, he said, outlining a plan. Ally with local advocates. Document every incident. Turn whispers to roars. Lena arrived mid-meal, bearing cannoli from her favorite Italian spot, her energy a spark in the dim. She dove into the fray, sharing tales from med school protests, demanding inclusive curricula when queer health was a footnote. Visibility's a weapon. Use it. As plates cleared, conversation shifted to lighter shores. Ethan's rehab progress, a milestone walk sans crutches looming. Riley teased, "Gonna lap me on the track, zombie leg and all." Ethan shoved him playfully, their laughter a cascade, but Alex caught the glance, lingering, loaded with the tentative dance of first feelings. Later, as Riley biked home through the dusk, Alex and Lena claimed the balcony, city lights twinkling below like distant stars. "He's falling," she observed, sipping wine from mismatched mugs. "Riley." "And Ethan's right there with him." Alex nodded, a pang of protectiveness. "Reminds me of us. Young, terrified, all in." Their hands intertwined, her thumb tracing his calluses from years of compressions. "No terror here," she murmured, pulling him close. The kiss deepened, a promise against the chill, but sirens wailed distant, yanking Alex back to earth. Duty called, a multi-car pileup downtown, and he rose, reluctant. The scene was hellish, twisted steel on Burnside, horns blaring, bystanders filming with morbid glee. Alex triaged with machine efficiency, concussions, whiplash, a toddler's broken arm, but his mind wandered to Ethan, to the boy piecing together a life from shards. As dawn broke, shift ending, he returned to find Ethan awake, journal open on his lap, pages filled with poetry, raw verses of longing and defiance. "Wrote about you," Ethan said shyly. "The letters. They saved me." Alex read, words blurring. "Dad's ghost in ink, pulling me from the wreck." Emotion choked him. This was love's true shape, tattered, tenacious, transcending blood. But peace was fleeting. A call from Hargrove mid-morning. Escalation. A parent complaint, anonymous, alleging inappropriate influences from Ethan's new family arrangement. The storm gathered anew, prejudices cloaked in concern. Alex rallied the troops, Lena drafting legal consults, Sarah mobilizing Seattle networks, Riley hacking together a digital paper trail. Ethan, for his part, stood taller, crutches discarded, his limp a badge. "We're not hiding anymore." In that declaration, Alex saw the man emerging, resilient, radiant, and vowed to stand sentinel no matter the blows. November's chill seeped into Portland's bones, frosting windows and tempers alike, as the complaint snowballed into a district review. Alex's station buzzed with support, colleagues slipping him case law printouts, Chief Ramirez, a stoic Latino with tattoos peeking from cuffs, cornering him in the locker room. "Family's off limits, Harper. We got your back." Gratitude anchored him, but sleep evaded, nights spent pacing his apartment, Lena's texts a lifeline. "Breathe. We're unbreakable." Their dates, stolen amid chaos, became sanctuaries. Hikes in Forest Park, trails crunching underfoot, where she'd challenge him to name trees. He failed spectacularly. Or quiet evenings cooking paella, her abuela's recipe, laughter bubbling over saffron steam. Ethan thrived in the interim, rehab yielding ground. First steps unaided across the therapy mat, cheers erupting from Jamal and the crew. Riley was constant, their bond deepening into something luminous. Study sessions morphing to late-night drives, hands brushing over gear shifts, confessions whispered under stadium lights. Alex chaperoned discreetly. A coffee run here, a mall loiter there, heart full at their tentative joy, a counterpoint to his own guarded youth. "They're good together," he confided to Lena one night, curled on her couch in a borrowed sweatshirt, her cat purring between them. "Like we could be." She traced his jaw, eyes soft. "We are, Alex. Just takes time to trust." The review hearing arrived like a verdict, held in the district office downtown, a brutalist bunker of glass and steel, echoing with footsteps. The panel, 3 admins, faces impassive as stone, reviewing testimony from Hargrove, Miss Patel, and a parade of parents, 2 supportive, voices quavering with tales of their own queer kids' isolation, others veiled in worry, standard slipping code for fear of the other. Ethan testified last, voice steady, crutches long gone but scars a faint map on his skin. The crash didn't break me. Hiding did. My dad's gay, deal with it. We're here, we're human. Applause rippled from the gallery, Riley's whoop cutting through, but the panel adjourned without ruling, deliberations pending. Relief mingled with dread as they spilled into the lobby, rain lashing the panes. Sarah hugged Ethan fiercely via video later. Proud doesn't cover it, kiddo. But backlash brewed swift. A petition circulating online, protect our children's environment, signatures climbing like kudzu. Threats trickled in. Emails to Alex's station, voicemails laced with slurs. Chief Ramirez upped security, but the toll mounted. Ethan's nightmares returning, Riley's bravado cracking in private confessions. What if they make us choose? Alex gathered them for a bonfire in his backyard, flames dancing on November fog, marshmallows toasting to normalcy. They can't make us choose anything, he said, poking embers. We choose us. Lena's role expanded, her advocacy fierce, connecting them to PFLAG chapters, organizing a community forum at the station, EMTs and families sharing stories under banner lights. One speaker, a trans teen from the crash, echoed Ethan's words, visibility heals. The event swelled, media sniffing, local news vans idling outside, reporters hungry for the hero dad angle. Alex dodged spotlights, but Ethan shone, Riley at his side, their clasped hands a quiet revolution. In the green room pre-panel, Lena squeezed Alex's knee. This is your legacy, starting now. Twists came unbidden. A week post-forum, a letter arrived, handwritten, postmarked rural Oregon, from Alex's estranged father, Harlan. Saw you on TV. Ethan's spitting image of your ma. We were wrong. Doors open. The olive branch trembled in Alex's grip, decades of silence cracking. He showed Ethan over breakfast, boy's eyes widening. Grandpa? The logger dude from Stories. Alex nodded, throat tight. Want to meet him? Ethan did, fiercely, and they drove east, winding through Willamette Valley's vine-draped hills, Lena tagging along for ballast. Harlan's farmstead loomed unchanged, sagging porch, rusted truck, the scent of pine and regret. The old man emerged, weathered as oak, eyes, Alex's eyes, wet. Boy, one word, and arms enfolded, Ethan sandwiched in a bare hug that bridged chasms. Over coffee black as tar, Harlan unspooled apologies. The church's grip, fear of losing his son to a world he didn't understand. Loved you wrong. Learning late. Ethan grilled him on logging tales, drawing laughs rusty from disuse, while Lena mediated with gentle probes. By dusk, as they departed with promises of visits, Alex felt unburdened. A chain snapped, forgiveness a quiet thunder. But home delivered its own jolt. Riley's parents, his mom, supportive but overwhelmed, his dad, the ghost, demanding a sit-down. He's pulling away, she fretted over tea in their Beaverton split level. Riley fidgeted, Ethan a silent ally beside him. The dad arrived late, tie loosened, face etched with the strain of denial. This phase, it's hurting the family. Riley's voice broke the dam. It's not a phase, Dad. It's me. And Ethan's part of that. The room held breath. The man deflated, whispers of therapy and time exchanged. No fairy tale, but a crack in the wall, progress, porous and possible. As winter loomed, the district ruled. No fault found. Enhanced anti-bullying protocols mandated. Victory tasted sweet, but fragile. Petitions lingered. Eyes still watched. Alex marked it with a family dinner. Sarah and Mark flying down. Harlan trucking in venison stew. The table groaning under dishes. Laughter weaving through toasts. Ethan raised his glass. Soda, fizzing. To Rex that build. Eyes met around the circle. Bonds forged in fire gleaming. And in the quiet after, Alex pulled Lena aside. Ring box heavy in pocket. A question unspoken, but eyes asking. She smiled, yes blooming unspoken. Love, in its many hues, had won the round. December dawned crystalline. Portland's rare snow dusting rooftops like powdered sugar on gingerbread, transforming the city into a hushed wonderland. Ethan's full return to Lincoln High marked the season's gift. First day back, backpack slung, Riley at his elbow, Alex trailing with coffee thermoses like a Secret Service detail. Hallways buzzed, glances lingering but softer now. The forum's echoes lingering in rainbow stickers on lockers, GSA flyers bold on bulletin boards. Feels normal, Ethan admitted at lunch, picking at a sandwich under cafeteria fluorescence. Riley grinned, stealing fries. Better than normal. Epic. Alex's life synced to this new pulse. Shifts balanced with parent-teacher emails. Weekends split between Lena's cozy bungalow, stocked with her vinyl collection and his med kits, and Ethan's track practices, where he cheered from bleachers, Harlan occasionally joining, grizzled cap low. The old man's thawing was a marvel. Texts about weather reports, invitations to ice fish on the Deschutes, stories of Alex's boyhood spun with affection unmarred by old shames. Your mod be proud, Harlan grumbled once. Over checkers by the fire, Ethan trouncing them both. The words healed fissures Alex hadn't known bled. Lena wove deeper, her presence a steady hum. They navigated the merge, her night shifts clashing with his days, but stolen mornings and tangled sheets, coffee brewed lazy, plans sketched for a cabin getaway. The proposal came impulsive, snow falling soft outside her window, rings slipping onto her finger amid laughter and tears. Yes, idiot, thought you'd never ask. Ethan's reaction, texted immediately, about time. Riley says double date soon. The boys plotted mischief, a winter formal invite dangling, their own romance budding public, first dance, hands linked defiant. But drama shadowed joy, as it must in tales unfinished. Christmas Eve brought the call. Riley, voice shattering over the line. Dad bailed for good. Said he couldn't live the lie. The words gutted them. Ethan, fresh from Harlan's, drove straight over, Alex and Lena in tow. Riley's mom opened the door, eyes red-rimmed, the house dim with tinsel half-strung. They rallied. Hot cocoa spiked with peppermint. Carols crooned off-key. Stories swapped of abandonment survived. He's missing out, Ethan said fiercely, arm around Riley. On you. On us. The boy leaned in, first kiss tentative under mistletoe, Alex averting eyes with a smile, Lena's hand warm in his. New Year's tested further. A station holiday party, brass and blues under strung lights, where old wounds reopened. A veteran EMT, grizzled Tom who'd mentored Alex Green, cornered him beer loose. Heard about the kid. Good on ya, but that lifestyle? Kids need moms, you know. The slur slithered, casual venom. Alex's fist clenched, but Lena materialized, voice steel. That lifestyle saved lives tonight, including yours, last pileup. Back off. Tom slunk away, but the echo lingered, a reminder that acceptance was patchwork, not seamless. Ethan's response was action. A blog post, anonymous at first, then claimed, wreckage to rainbow, my crash course in family. It went viral local, shares spiking, comments a torrent of solidarity and spite. Reporters knocked, but he spoke measured, Riley co-authoring segments on young love's perils. The school amplified, assembly featuring his words, peers rising in ovations that drowned detractors. Harlan read it aloud over Skype, voice thick. Words like yours change men, son. Pride swelled collective, a tide turning. Spring unfurled green. Cherry blossoms rioting along the Willamette, as rehab concluded. Ethan lacing sneakers for a jog, Alex timing laps in Washington Park, Lena picnicking with novels and wine. Twists lingered small. A letter from Sarah's ex, Ethan's adoptive dad, echoes of Riley's loss, but met with grace. Therapy sessions group, healing communal. The formal arrived triumphant. Boys in thrift store tuxes, Lena and Alex chaperoning, dances spinning under disco balls. On the floor's edge, Alex swayed with his fiancée, whispering vows amid the din. This, us, them, it's the real hero work. Graduation dawned June bright. Lincoln Highs field a sea of caps and gowns, Ethan striding stage unscarred, diploma clutched like a talisman. Alex hooped loudest, Harlan's arm around Sarah's shoulders, Mark snapping photos. Backyard barbecue followed, grills smoking, tables groaning, toasts to futures. Ethan to community college, pre-med dreams sparked by Alex's tales, Riley tagging along, art major bound. As dusk fell, fireflies winking, Ethan pulled Alex aside. That first day in the wreck. Thought I was done. But you? You were my safe. Alex hugged him fierce. Mutual, kid. Always. The story didn't end. Lives don't. Just chapter. And as stars wheeled overhead, Portland's lights a constellation of hard-won homes. Alex knew. From crashes came clarity. From freezes came fire. Love, in its spectrum splendor, endured, deep, defiant, forever unfolding.